Hello and welcome to Drafted and Distilled, the weekly pour of sports, stories, and a splash of good spirits. Hi everyone, I'm your host Billy, as always. Just a regular sports fan like you guys. Here to give my opinions and have a good drink to mark the occasion. This is actually episode 7, but I'm so excited because it's our first YouTube episode. This is quite the journey I've been on so far here, and I want to welcome back all our regulars and any newcomers that we have this week. It has been so fun doing this, guys. I can't tell you the joy that this is bringing me, and really this is why I'm doing it, to connect with you guys. And we're so excited to have our first YouTube episode. So just a bit about us. Here at Drafted and Distilled, we pair sports and spirits in the best way possible. With good stories, honest opinions, and a drink in hand. Each week, we pour up a new spirit or cocktail, break down its flavor and character, then dive into the biggest takes in sports with a mix of insight, energy, and easy humor. Guys, this isn't too serious and definitely not too polished. Just real talk for fans who love the game and a good pour. So what we like to do here on Drafted and Distilled, the first thing we do is we review the cocktail or spirit that we're drinking this week. Today, we are going back to rum. And this week it is Captain Morgan Dark Rum. When I drink rum, Captain Morgan is a fan favorite of mine. I normally drink the spiced rum, but I bought this specific bottle because we were making drinks for a get together that we had. And that's why I have it. So we're going to review it today. Just a bit of a disclosure statement here before we get started. This is good rum, but this isn't a sipping rum. This isn't the rum you're bringing back to your friends that you had on vacation. This isn't the bottle of rum that you spend a lot of money on and bring it out with a get together. This is a mixing rum. This is meant for creating cocktails, and it's a little different than the normal spirits that we've reviewed here because those were meant to be sipped and enjoyed, and they had really creative flavor profiles, but this isn't that. This is a rum that's supposed to highlight a cocktail, which is the way I have it here today. So all that being said, it's a little different than what we normally have done, but still a very good rum to make a drink with. On Drafted and Distilled, we like to go to the product's website, find out what they're saying about their spirit, what to look for, what to kind of expect. Captain Morgan is saying about the dark rum that it's aged for at least 2 years in charred oak barrels for that heavenly oak finish before being blended according to our very own secret recipe. So that's really all they're saying. They are not giving a bunch of flavor notes and what to think about when you're sipping, finish, all of that. That's really it. So that kind of tells you what to expect. But on the show, we always like to have a smell before we get started. So we'll do that. Yeah, it smells the way they describe it. The the oak finish, which makes sense because it was in charred oak barrels for 2 years. It has a lot of the flavor profile that a whiskey would have, which is very interesting. Um, Caramely, toffee sweetness, I should say. Um, so that's very interesting for a rum. But again, very good rum to be making a cocktail with. So, typically, for those of you who are new, the way we like to mix a drink here is with Coke or Pepsi on ice. And I know a lot of people will say that's not how you drink good spirits, but that's the way we drink them here. So, today we are making a cocktail with ginger beer. And typically, this is called a dark and stormy. And I have it here. I've already mixed it, so pardon me for that. Um, I discovered this one year when we went to Nova Scotia for a vacation. For those of you that are not from Canada, Nova Scotia is on the east coast of Canada. Um, and these drinks are everywhere there. Every menu has a dark and stormy cocktail, pardon me. Um, so we drink them a lot when we're there. You can't find them in Western Canada all that often, but I have had them here, and they're fine. But they're really good there. And I wanted to try them for you guys. So let's have a drink. So that's really good, of course. One of the reasons why I like this dark rum is because it the smoothness and the sweetness really balance out the ginger beer. For those who haven't had ginger beer, it's a punch in the mouth flavor, can take your breath away sometimes, and the rum really evens that out. And when they kind of pair together perfectly, that is a really good drink, and why I really love them. I wouldn't recommend this rum if you aren't mixing it. You're not going to pour this into a glass with ice. But if you can find the right cocktail for it, it's wonderful. Here at Drafted and Distilled, when we like a drink or a spirit, we always use the term, it tastes like more. And guys, I will tell you, this tastes like more, but in the right context. You have to have a good cocktail base, something that you're pretty familiar with. Even being a rum and coke guy like I am, you have to make sure that you're using this properly, or it could just be meh. So keep that in mind. But this dark and stormy, yes, definitely tastes like more and highly recommend it. Of course, these are my cocktails and these are the things that I like. Not every drink is for every person. These are my impressions, but I'd love for you to try it yourself and let us know what you think. We're going to talk about this more on the show, but part of the reason that we do this show is because we want to interact with you guys. We want to know what you think and what we think. So now that we've tried our drink, we'd like to get into this week's hot take in sports. And today we are going to be breaking down the college football playoffs. So games for the college football playoffs start tomorrow and on Saturday. And I wanted to go over who got in, who didn't, and who I think will win the whole thing. I have a lot to say, and I don't want you guys to think that I don't like a couple of these schools, but this is my opinion, this is my take, so here we go. I want to start by saying what everyone is saying. That this current system of the way they pick the 12 teams is quite broken. When the college football playoff came up and we knew that they were going to 12 teams, it was sold to us that the 12 best teams were going to be playing for a championship. And this year we don't have that. We have two teams that got in that really, in my opinion, don't deserve to be there. Not that they aren't fine universities and not that they didn't have amazing years, but these two teams that I'm going to tell you about are what I would call little brother teams. So, just a bit of history. The way that the college football playoff works is that the FBS programs, the bigger schools, they get automatic bids and conference champions get into the playoffs. But for the smaller schools that are out there that are working very hard and have really wonderful programs, the playoff system allows them to have a spot, usually one spot. This year they got two, and I think the committee got it wrong. So the two teams that I'm talking about are Tulane and James Madison. And again, to those people who root for those schools or who attended those schools, wonderful programs. I'm not disparaging that. James Madison had an amazing year. They went 12-1 and won the Sun Belt Conference. Their one loss was to an ACC team, Louisville, who is middle of the pack and is not having a run of really great teams at the moment. They have had that, but they're not having that. And Louisville rallied in the fourth quarter to beat them, James Madison, which is part of the problem that I have. So you're really good when you're playing smaller schools, but when you're playing bigger schools, it doesn't go well. Tulane is the other school that we're going to talk about, and they also had a great year. I think they were 11-2, and they won the American Conference. One of their losses was to Ole Miss, who they played. They lost 45-10, which is not a good score. An update, that's who they play in the first round. Tulane will play Ole Miss again. And this is the problem I'm having with this whole thing, is that if we're saying the 12 best teams, we can't have teams come into these games and get shellacked. No one in the college football stratosphere wants to see that happen. And it's my opinion that that is going to happen this weekend. James Madison is playing Oregon, and Oregon is a fantastic team. And Tulane is playing Ole Miss, who they lost to already once. These are little brother teams that are going to go out and get embarrassed against these top tier programs. And that's just not what we signed up for with the college football playoff. I do realize politics have to do with all of this and money and all of these things and these formulas that they use in the committee that uses them. It's complicated. I'm not saying that, but would I rather see Texas play Ole Miss and Notre Dame play Oregon in the first round? Hell yeah. Yes, I freaking would. I'm biased because I for those of you that don't know, I do root for the Texas Longhorns for my entire life. But I would rather see very good first round matchups instead of these lopsided victories. Not to mention, there are a couple of teams, Texas A&M and Alabama, play really good opponents. So luck of the draw gave Oregon and Ole Miss easy games, but Alabama and Texas A&M have to play quality opponents. I don't think that's fair either. No one outside of these fan bases is going to care about them being there. And good on them. They made it into the college football playoff. They're going to have revenue from this. They're going to have an uptick in merchandise, and people are going to be watching them in nationally televised games. That's really good for them. But that isn't what we were hoping for. And I just don't think we have the 12 best teams in the country playing for a national championship. I think the committee got it really wrong. And I really hope that we can kind of rectify this next season to benefit fans. A lot of the things that we're going to talk about on this channel and my opinions come from a fan perspective. And sometimes these sports lose sight of that because of money and these big paydays get involved. That being said, I'm so excited to get into the college football playoff. I'm a very big college football fan. So I've had my rant. I'm going to let that go. And we are going to just talk about the games. So yeah, I wanted to go over all the games coming up on the weekend and let you guys know who's playing who, and then we're going to talk about who I think is going to win the whole tournament. So Friday night we have Alabama versus Oklahoma. And this is a rematch as well this year. Oklahoma beat Alabama 23-21, I believe. Excellent back and forth game. This one, to me, is the headliner for the first round. And I think there's going to be a lot of people watching this game with great interest to see how Alabama does. Saturday, the first game is Miami versus Texas A&M. And, you know, hopefully Miami goes out there and kicks their butt because A&M sucks. Oh, one thing that I did forget to say about Oklahoma is that they also suck. So that's the early game. Go Miami. The middle game on Saturday is Tulane versus Ole Miss. Again, not terribly interested in what happens there. And then the night game is James Madison versus Oregon. Again, I know what's going to happen. Hopefully, we have great games. And, you know, we play these games on the field for a reason. Anything can happen. So, who knows what's going to happen? So, those are the first round games for this year's tournament. There are 4 teams that have buys that don't play this weekend that are waiting to see how these games play out. So those 4 teams are Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech. Indiana will play the winner of Alabama versus Oklahoma. Ohio State will play the winner of Miami and Texas A&M. Georgia will play the winner of Ole Miss and Tulane. And Texas Tech will play the winner of James Madison versus Oregon. These second round games will be played on December 31st and January 1st. And this is really when the games are going to kind of kick into high gear. And I really focused when I was deciding who I thought was going to win. I really focused on the teams that have the buys and kind of broke down what matchups they have coming forward. Because it's my opinion that one of these four teams will win the national championship. Out of Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech. I love all four of these teams. Their makeup, it's very hard to bet against Georgia because Kirby Smart is one of the best coaches in college football, and you can never count them out. I believe that it's going to come down to two Big Ten teams, so Ohio State and Indiana. And if you look at the bracket, they have the chance to meet each other in the finals. These two teams played in the Big Ten championship, and Indiana won that game. Ohio State was the number one team for the entire year, and Indiana really surprised everyone by beating them. I don't think Ohio State will lose to a team twice in 1 year. They're a very good team. And I am definitely picking Ohio State to win the national championship. They, like I said, they have been the best team for the whole entire year. They had one slip up. And I think that, again, my opinion, that they're going to go out and make statements in each of these games to prove who the best team is. That's my take for this week. You might, pardon me, you might agree with me or think I'm overreacting or being a baby. That's okay. Either way, we want to hear your take on my take. Hit me up on all our socials, and I will go through them here in a second. Like I said earlier, half the fun of doing this show is hearing your fun but respectful comments on what we're putting out there. One thing about sports fans is they all have an opinion, and we want to hear your guys' opinion. We want you to be respectful, but we welcome it. Before we close things out on this week's episode, we're going to preview what we're doing for next week. Next week, we are going to be tasting a new spirit for me. I've never had this one before. And it's also our first bourbon. This one I've always wanted to try, but I didn't want to buy a full bottle in case I didn't like it. And that is Maker's Mark, which is on the shelf here. Highly recommended to me by a few different people. Really smooth bourbon, and I do love a good bourbon, so that seemed to kind of line up here. We will be breaking down what to look for, how it tastes, how to get it, and why it might just become your favorite. On the sports side of things, we will be jumping into what happened at the baseball winter meetings. Every year, all the GMs and agents and players get together in a very warm location, and a lot of things get done. A lot of trades, a lot of signings get done during this time, and we're going to go over all of that. Thanks for hanging out with me, regulars, and anyone new today. Any newcomers, welcome, and we hope you stay. If you enjoyed today's pour, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who loves sports and a good drink as much as you do. You guys can find me on Instagram, drafted_distilled, on X, draft and distill, and Facebook under drafted and distilled. Be sure to like and follow on all these platforms. It helps us out and lets us know that you guys are liking what we're doing. My name is Billy, and as always, I've been your host here on Drafted and Distilled. Until next time, stay smooth, stay spirited, and I'll see you guys next round.